Think about what absolute power actually means. Not political influence, not wealth, not fame. Absolute power. The kind where you can execute anyone, take anything, change anything, and answer to nobody. The kind that, across all of recorded history, has reliably done something very specific to the people who hold it. It makes them believe they deserve it. It makes them larger in their own minds, more certain, less curious about their own flaws, less interested in the opinions of people below them, and completely, almost universally uninterested in sitting alone at night and writing down all the ways they think they are falling short. There is one exception to that pattern that stands above every other name in the historical record. His name was Marcus Aurelius. He was the emperor of Rome, and he was, by a significant margin, the most powerful individual on earth for 19 years. At its height during his reign, the Roman Empire controlled territory stretching from Britain to Mesopotamia, from the Rhine to the Sahara. It governed an estimated 70 million people. Its armies were the most effective fighting force on the planet, and at the top of that entire structure, with no constitution, no parliament, no mechanism of accountability, sat one man. Marcus Aurelius could have done anything. The historical record of what Roman emperors did with that kind of power is not reassuring. His predecessor Caligula had declared himself a god. His own son Commodus would later rename Rome after himself and fight as a gladiator for entertainment. What Marcus Aurelius actually did was spend his evenings in a military tent on the frozen frontier, writing notes to himself about his failures. We know this because those notes survived. They are called the Meditations. And what makes them unlike almost any other document in the history of powerful people is the fact that Marcus Aurelius never intended anyone to read them. Their original title, written in Greek, was ta eis hiaton, which translates simply as to himself, not to Rome, not to history, not to his successors, to himself. Every other significant piece of writing from a ruler or leader is, at some level, a performance. It is shaped for an audience. It is designed to communicate something specific about the person writing it. The Meditations are not. They are a private argument a man had with himself, conducted in a tent on a freezing war frontier during the last decade of his life, about whether he was living the way he believed he should. He wasn't writing to be admired. He was writing to get through the next day. The first entry in the Meditations is not a statement of principles. It is not a philosophy lesson. It is not a declaration. It is a list of people Marcus Aurelius felt he owed something to, and what exactly he had learned from each of them. From his grandfather, good temper and calmness. From his father, modesty. From his mother, generosity and the habit of keeping away, not just from evil deeds, but from evil thoughts. From his teacher Rusticus, the impression, he writes, that his own character required improvement and discipline. The most powerful person on earth opened his private journal with a list of what he owed to other people, not what he had achieved, what he had received. That is not a normal thing for rulers to write. It is not, in honesty, a normal thing for most people to write. Throughout the Meditations, Marcus Aurelius returns again and again to the same set of reminders. That power is temporary, that the greatest emperors before him, Augustus, Hadrian, Trajan, were dust now, and that their greatness had not preserved them. That a person's reputation after death is itself short, quickly forgotten by people who are themselves quickly forgotten. He reminds himself not to be arrogant about his position. He reminds himself to listen. He reminds himself that the people who annoy him most are also doing their best according to what they understand. He reminds himself, more than once, that he is not special. These are not the private notes of a man performing humility for an imagined audience. They are the notes of a man who genuinely found it difficult to stay humble under the weight of what he was, and who wrote to himself every night to try harder. There is a line in the Meditations that historians of philosophy return to often. Marcus writes, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." It sounds like advice for the reader, but in context, written by the man who literally had power over outside events, over armies and territories and the lives of millions, it is something else entirely. It is a man reminding himself that the only thing worth controlling is something no throne can give you and no army can take away. He ruled an empire for 19 years. He wore simple clothing by choice. He ate plainly while surrounded by every luxury the ancient world could produce. When a plague devastated the empire and the treasury ran low, he sold his own palace possessions at public auction rather than raise taxes on people who were already suffering. He had every reason and every opportunity to become exactly the kind of ruler history says power produces. He chose every single night in a cold tent on a frozen riverbank not to. The Meditations were not published in his lifetime. They were not mentioned in the historical record for nearly 2 centuries after his death. The entire text survived on 2 manuscripts, one of which has since been lost, and was first printed in 1558, nearly 1400 years after Marcus Aurelius died. That it exists at all is an accident. That it became one of the most widely read works of philosophy in the history of the world, studied by everyone from Renaissance scholars to modern executives to soldiers preparing for battle, is something Marcus Aurelius would have found deeply uncomfortable. He was a man who specifically did not want to be admired. He wrote that down, privately, for nobody, in a tent in the dark. And 2,000 years later, that is exactly why we can't stop reading him.